Previous lecture we have studied about the various types of bearings. So they are listed as sliding bearing, rocker bearing, pin bearing, roller bearing, elastomeric bearing, curved bearing, pot bearing and disc bearing. So out of these we are going to study detail, that is elastomeric bearing. So elastomeric bearing is a polymeric substance obtained after vulcanization of rubber. An elastomer bearing consists of an unreinforced elastomeric pad or reinforced elastomeric bearing fabricated by binding together alternate layers of rubber and steel plate as shown in figure. So here this is the figure of unreinforced bearing and reinforced elastomeric bearing. So here in unreinforced bearing, so such a rubber plates are there which are connected each other like this layer by layer, and in the reinforced bearing you can see here these are the rubber plates, and in between two rubber plates there is a steel plate. So this is reinforced bearing, elastomeric bearing, and this is unreinforced bearing. So the main advantages of the elastomeric bearings are they take direct compressive load, shearing force and movement by undergoing appropriate deformation. They have no moving part, therefore no maintenance. The height of the bearing is less as compared to other bearings. So lower headroom required, and thus it reduces the cost of construction. And it can be easily assessed and replaced with new one. So these are the various advantages of the elastomeric bearings or other types of bearings. So again, an elastomeric bearing should satisfy the following conditions as per IRC 83 part 2 code. So hardness of the elastomeric bearing should be 60 plus or minus 5 degrees on IRHD scale. So what is IRHD scale? It is International Rubber Hardness Scale. The minimum tensile strength of the elastomeric bearing should be 17 MPa or 17 Newton per mm square. Minimum elongation at break shall be 400%. Shear modulus of the elastomer shall be in the range of 0.8 MPa to 1.2 MPa, and adhesion strength of the elastomer to steel plate shall not be less than 7 kN per meter. So this is about the elastomeric bearing, that is unreinforced and reinforced bearing. So in university question paper, in previous university question papers, 3 questions may be asked from this part, that is first one is explain elastomeric bearing, that is asked for 8 to 9 marks. Next question may be design of reinforced elastomeric bearing, unreinforced elastomeric bearing, that is design procedure of unreinforced elastomeric bearing. And third part, that is the numerical related to design of unreinforced elastomeric bearing, that may be asked for 16 marks. So in the first question we have covered, that is what is elastomeric bearing, what are its advantages over other types of bearing, and what are its functions according to IRC 83 part 2. So next part we will cover design of unreinforced elastomeric bearing. So unreinforced elastomeric bearing. So the first step, that is plan dimension. The preferred dimension of elastomeric bearing pad as per IRC 83 part 2 are given in table below. So this is the pad, rubber pad, and its preferred dimensions are as per IRC 83. These are the various dimensions, that is width in bracket A, it is also, that is width of the pad, and length of the pad, that is B, that is in mm. So in first size 160 by 250 mm, 160 by 320 mm, 200 by 320 mm, like this. These are the various sizes, and we have to design elastomeric bearing pad for the given sizes, or any one of the sizes. Second step is the vertical or axial stiffness. The stiffness of elastomer is represented by shape factor, and the shape factor is denoted by S, and it is given by the ratio loaded surface area to the free surface area. So loaded surface area to the free surface area, and it is equal to, so loaded surface area is equal to A into B, that is the dimensions, planned dimensions of the pad, and free surface area is given by 2 times T multiplied by A plus B. So the ratio of loaded surface area to the free surface area is nothing but the shape factor S. Here T is the thickness of the pad. So A and B are the planned dimensions of the pad, and T is the thickness of the pad. So how to recognize or how to find out the thickness of the pad? That is the third step. The thickness of the pad is governed by its shear moment, and if U is the translational shear deformation as shown in figure, then this U is equal then this U must be equal to T tan pi. So here if you see the pad, bearing pad, this is length B, this is width A, this is thickness T, and this is deformation. So if this bearing is deformed in this direction, so the deformation is given by U, and it makes an angle pi with respect to horizontal. Here U is deformation, and it is given by U is equal to T tan pi. T tan pi. T is the thickness of the pad. So here, and this tan pi is equal to HC plus HS divided by G times A. Now what is HC, what is HS, what is G, what is A? G is the modulus of rigidity in Newton elastomeric, the modulus of rigidity of elastomeric bearing in Newton per mm square. A is the area of the pad, that is plan area of the plan. HC is sustained horizontal load in Newton. So what horizontal load that bearing can sustain, that is nothing but the HC, and HS is the sustained dynamic horizontal load in Newton. So this is sustained dynamic load in Newton. So tan pi is given by HC plus HS divided by G times A. Here the value of U should be less than 0.70 or T must be greater than 1.43 U. So this U must be less than 0.7 times T. That is the main condition. So next part comes, that is average compressive stress. So average compressive stress in elastomeric bearing pad is given by sigma m, and it is equal to P by A, and it must be less than 2 times GS. Here P is the total vertical load in Newton, that is sustained plus dynamic. A is effective plan area excluding shear deformation, and it is equal to A minus U multiplied by B. So here U is nothing but the deformation. So A minus U multiplied by B, that is nothing but the effective plan area. G is modulus of rigidity, already explained, and S is the shape factor, which is given by AB divided by 2 times T multiplied by A plus B. Now check for slip prevention. Next comes check for slip prevention. The slip of bearing is due to high horizontal force and low vertical force. To avoid slip, following condition must be satisfied. So slip of bearing. So bearing may slip due to high horizontal force and low vertical. So if vertical force is very low and horizontal force is very high, in that case slip may occur, and to avoid this slip, following condition must be satisfied. That is sigma m dash is equal to PC by AE must be greater than 1 plus A by B times A by B, that is in Newton per mm square, and B is equal, and second condition is HC plus HS must be less than F times PC plus PS. Now these are where PC is sustained vertical load, so sustained vertical load, PS is sustained vertical dynamic load, HC is sustained horizontal load, and HS is sustained horizontal dynamic load in Newton, and F is coefficient of friction, and its value is average value. If it is not given in the problem, then you have to take that value as a 0.3. So this is 0.3 as a coefficient of friction. So here these are the, so these, to avoid the slip, sigma m dash must be equal to PC by AE, and this must be greater than. So if this condition satisfies, your design is safe. And the last step is check for over